Have you ever downloaded a game on Gamepass for a laugh? I have multiple times now. The greatness of the platform means you can just try a little bit of stuff here and there. There's plenty games I've downloaded, played for an hour, and then given up on because I just didn't enjoy it. But I, of course, laughed heavily when I saw Lawn Mowing Simulator available to download. Who wants to just cut imaginary grass, I thought. This has got to be the saftest game ever made. How could this be enjoyable? And yet I'm now sat here writing this script after playing this game non-stop for a week, completing every lawn, owning every lawnmower, and having 3 staff members along with the best work office you can buy, thinking it was fun enough. The gameplay held me for a little while, but the experience overall was trimmed down a little bit too much as a complete package. See, I did originally download this for a joke. I was sat on the settee laughing with my eldest son about the sheer thought of playing this game, but then I loaded it up. I chose my lawnmower, one of those sit-down ones you always see in B&Q that you've always dreamed about owning, but you live in a council house in the Midlands, so your grass is basically the smallest triangle you can imagine. It's literally 9 foot long and 6 foot as its widest going inwards, so you'll never be able to experience one. And maybe that's why I really enjoyed this game more than I should at the beginning, because it let me live out a proper fatherly fantasy. Maybe it is because I'm near 40 years old now and I've done nearly everything I could ever realistically achieve in life, that I find things like sit-on lawnmowers fascinating. But I did enjoy the initial experience of this game, as I said, and I really do recommend others give it a try, at least for the first couple of gardens you do, just to experience what it's all about. Because on the surface, gameplay-wise, it's not much to talk about. You choose a lawnmower of your choice to do a grass cutting job in the English countryside. You drive the lawnmower to the grass, select the cut height based on the specification of the job, and then turn on the blades cutting the grass. You get penalised for ripping up flowers either with the lawnmower or the strimmer to cut the sides. You also get penalties for leaving grass clumps around if you haven't got an extractor which catches the clippings, or you get penalties for ruining the grass via your poor cutting. You see, it's not just about holding down the trigger and going as fast as you can. Sharp, quick turns will ruin the grass, along with heavy revs ruining your motor and blades. So you have to keep your speed nice and steady to cut everything just right, or else you'll not get paid as much. And you want to get paid well early on, so as you can buy better gear and employees to do the work for you. The better the job you do also means you don't have to pay much repair or fuel costs for the mowers, and realistically, gameplay-wise, that is about it. You cut grass and go on to the next jobs that come up, levelling up your reputation and business to make more money and do higher paying jobs. The highest of which are ones at the stately orchid, park and castle. Those are the jobs which require stripe cuts, the hardest parts of this game that can only be completed by owning expensive stripe cut mowers, and they are tough. You need to concentrate going up and down the grass in straight lines, turning off the blades, you turn around on the gravel, but once you've done them with about 98 or 99% stripe accuracy, they do look amazing. And when you're done with any job, you can go around and admire your handiwork before packing up and driving away to get paid. In fact, the biggest issue gameplay-wise is the lack of maps and the diversity of the gardens on offer. The locations being pretty much middle-class countryside cottages or modern homes just end up looking a bit bland and similar, and the lack of variety, especially early game, means you visit the same 5 or 6 houses over and over again whilst you get your money and reputation up. There are only so many times you can look at the same gardens on the same job selection screen and go, oh, bugger, not these ones again. I'm sick of these. As early game, you get a back garden with a shed, a bigger back garden with a gazebo, a large front garden with loads of hedges, a garden that splits in two, separated by a path, and a side garden with ornaments and a central pond feature that has a very expensive car on the drive. Took me blooming ages to unlock the orchid, which is absolutely huge, and took me well over an hour to do, or the farm, and then it takes even longer to unlock the park and castle. But the locations have like 3 or 4 areas for you to cut on, so you still end up visiting the same areas over and over again, and there's really nothing going on whilst you're doing it. For me, playing Power Wash Simulator first didn't help, as that one progresses you through the levels with a great background story that you have to piece together. It gives you little hidden Easter eggs in every level towards the greater narrative, and you're always having this constant progression in your gear and jobs, so you never getting bored. Here you're left with having to buy everything, even repairs, hire staff, do building upgrades, but there's nothing going on around you. Nothing driving you except the want to see what happens at the end, and even then there's nothing. I found all the valuables that were dotted around, and all I got were achievements, not even thank you texts. I know we're in England here, but we ain't that sodding boring. Everything's lifeless. Even the people who pass you on the street whilst you're cutting the front grass don't say, "All right, mate." Now that's definitely wrong. I can walk down Derby End here and the first bloke to pass me will say, "Morning," or "All right, mate." And you can just say, "Morning," or "All right," back. I've probably never seen the bloke before in my life, but you just do it. I'm pretty sure countryside areas like Gloucester or wherever this is set would do it also, because I got completely lost once down there when I was sozzled, and it did happen. I woke up on a golf course in the middle of nowhere. Bit of a long story, but presentation in this game is flat and a massive failure compared to other games. It's needed if they go on to do a second one like the rumours state they're going to do, because as you play through the game more, you realise it's easier to become a rubbish collector rather than a lawnmower, as the lack of maps and the 3 or 4 staff you have mean you can just send them on big money and rep earning jobs whilst you tidy up the park over and over and over again until you reach the castle area through high reputation. Then you cut 4 more grass areas and you're done with the game, and that's really all that's on offer here. About halfway through, I just got bored of the constant repetition and no story on offer, no driving force keeping me going. You literally do just cut imaginary grass until you pick litter up and send out your staff. It needs something to drive you on, and we need bigger and tougher jobs. I mean, what game set in England doesn't have you cutting a football, rugby or cricket pitch? The ultimate challenges for lawnmowers. And then you could have introduced circle stripe patterns on them also. I've seen gardens round here, front ones with a central feature like a small rock fountain that have the grass around it cut in a circle pattern. The game needs those sort of challenges, especially as it's not overtly difficult. The hardest thing you come across is keeping the revs down on your mower by not fully pressing the trigger down on the controller, or avoiding mulchers as they wreak havoc on the grass. Honestly, the best advice I can give is to go for a 0 turn or 4-wheel drive on your mower with a collector. My go-to mower was the Turf Tiger 2, as it had 0 turn and side collection upgrades along with a Tiger Stripe for those jobs. That means controlling the things is a hell of a lot easier, as its turn cycle goes exactly where you want it to. The rear wheel drive ones turn much slower as they kick out from the back. So as soon as you upgrade the zero turn or to a 4-wheel drive vehicle, you know about it instantly, as the feedback you receive whilst cutting is much more precise. Suddenly you can go closer to those obstacles whilst you're cutting, or get closer to the edges, along with the top speed being just the right amount on most of the upgraded rides. A feature which means you're just holding down the trigger at halfway and not really paying attention to the revs, as unless you went over hills, it never really went into the red at all, and those only happen on like 2 gardens, so you can focus entirely on what you're cutting right in front of you on screen, instead of having to divert your attention away from the grass, focusing on revs or turning circles. The Tiger 2 was also just the right size to fit inside the smaller gardens also. Just going up and down twice, you could get the entire middle area done fast, meaning you could use the battery-powered strimmer to do the rest of it, finishing the job in about 10 minutes. Time is in fact the only issues most will have with the bigger jobs, as they do take 40 minutes to over an hour and a half sometimes. So it's best to put YouTube on your phone and watch something like a bloke talking about games like me to get you through the job, or put on some music, things I've never had to do whilst I was playing Power Wash. You will find a lawnmower you will enjoy. All of us will have a hatred for mulch plates and rear-wheel drive mowers, and we will consider the most expensive mowers too much of a cost for what they do, as the mid-range mowers like the Tiger just do everything a lot better, just as fast, and mean you can complete every single job. But it's the mid-range boredom that gets to you more than anything, as the castle cuts are probably the best ones in the game. They just happen to be quite a while off, so you have to face the tedium of getting your reputation and money up before you can get there. Now, I did enjoy this game for most of its playtime. Getting to the castle gardens was the hardest part, but once there I did the 4 gardens and considered my job done, uninstall, write this critique and never come back. They have so many areas where they can improve on the design and presentation of the overall game. A bit of story wouldn't go amiss, just a few texts while you're doing the job to give you a little chuckle now and again, along with quicker progress through levels with better gear upgrades at different times, and no rubbish collection jobs. This is Lawn Mowing Simulator after all, not Park Groundsman. It needs a story to push you along and enjoy the ride on the mowers. Doesn't have to be amazing, but you need to start as a basic gardener doing small time jobs and then go on to bigger and better ones. Stadiums are a must also. I could see a lot of football fans coming to this game to cut the grass of a stadium, especially if you could mod it on PC to be your favourite team's one. I would also like to see plants not get chopped up the second you put your strimmer near them. The hitbox is so inconsistent. Sometimes your strimmer bends them over when you should have clipped them. Sometimes you're a couple inches off and they go flying up in the air, completely destroyed. It's way too inconsistent along with the penalty system. I used to just leave grass lying around everywhere, as there was no real penalty for picking it up. Removing plants doesn't really cost you much either. Only mulching up grass seems to cost you dearly. So there's no real penalty for doing a piss poor job. You can get the fastest, largest mower and just go over everything. You still get paid so long as you get past the percentage of cut required at the right ride height, but it should realistically kill your reputation or mean you don't get paid at all, blocking off a level fully, as they would never get you back to work there again. It just breaks the immersion. Like seeing a job you've just done pop up again the supposed next day on the job screen, wanting the same cut. It just shows there was an idea here in concept, but the execution got trimmed down a little bit too much. But I do recommend you try it out yourself on Gamepass and watch this video here if you're interested in hearing about other games. Thanks for watching.